Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of A Little Atypical. My name is Aleja. You can call me Lay. And as I'm recording this, it is actually the 1st of May, which is so crazy to see how fast time flew this year. If you look at the title of this episode, it is probably something about remembering to live. Maybe it's the nostalgia, but 1 year ago, I was still in college, still thinking about figuring out what I want to do with my life, and my main thought process was getting a job as fast as possible. In my head, that meant I was successful. This is proof everything that I just did was worth it. But now we are in 2024. I graduated May 23rd. I did work for a bit, and now I'm on a career break because I burnt myself out. And honestly, when I was thinking about this topic, I was trying to figure out what I would talk about, how I would approach this. And the best thing I wanted to start with was why people even struggle in the first place to live. Everybody dies, but not everybody lives. And in concept, we exist sometimes, but we don't live sometimes. And what does that even mean to truly live? And I spent the last approximately 2 weeks just doing more socialization that I have done. Literally, I have not seen a friend since July 2023 before I started working in August. That was the last time I saw a friend. My other friend that I did get to see at the same time, the last time I saw her was when we celebrated my 21st birthday. Mind you, that was 2022. If that doesn't tell you that I get so captivated into my goals, I don't know what else will. One reason why people struggle to actually live and just have more flow with their life, have more fun in their lives, is the all or nothing mindset. When I was thinking about this, my mind went to, why do we have goals? What are goals for? My brain, after deep reflection, came up with the fact that I feel like when we have goals, it's in order to provide security or proof for ourselves. When I say this, I'm also coming from the perspective that not all goals are actually aligned with our dreams. That's why when we think of goals and we talk about goals, they're not always the same as our dreams. I had a thought, what is actually my dream? Even though this is a very broad statement, but when it came down to it, my dream is to live a life on my own terms. I want my life to grow with me. I don't want to always be stuck at something or feel like I have to do something because that's the life I chose initially when I was younger, before I knew more or knew myself better. When I sat with that for a second, I was like, when I had goals, and I still have goals, but when I was younger, and this is going to be something very hard to talk about, but I realized my goals were not really centered around my dreams. It was more like, if I live to this point, I guess I'll do this in order to help my mom, the person I love most, and I guess that would be my reason to live for. But it wasn't necessarily about my dreams. I didn't really have them. I thought what would make my life easier. It was kind of funny because when I was hanging out with a friend and we were just kind of in this headspace of nothing in life was ever that serious. When we were going through things, how it felt like it was the end of the world, and how now we're out of it, we're out of that space. And a few years later, it's not that deep, and how things felt deeper, but it just wasn't that deep. With that being said, that things are not that deep, that's where it always came down to. I always felt like I developed an all or nothing mindset, mostly in college. I mean, I always had it, but in a different way. So when growing up, my all or nothing mindset revolved around proving I was beautiful, I was worthy of love. That was more of my mindset in middle school, high school. And then with my all or nothing mindset came down to in college was proving that I'm smart enough, proving that I could do things, that I'm skillful, that I'm worthy of having a career and earning enough money and whatever. Yeah, like I always had an all or nothing mindset, but the way it was, I guess, presented in my life was so different. And that really caused me not to really go for my dreams. Even though deep down I knew like what would make me feel like that dream. Like I have the ability for my life to really grow with me and that I don't feel like I would end up stuck somewhere. This goes to my next point of why I think people forget to live is overthinking. Massive overthinker, always been an overthinker. But when I had to brainstorm on this one, I feel like as people, we kind of overestimate what will make us happy in life, that will satisfy us in life, while underestimating how much time it might take us to get what we want, to achieve having that thing in place. And I do think a huge part of that is the system of life that's currently set up where things happen so instantly. And then on top of that, we see people having everything we desire. And it seems like they get it in a blink of an eye, even though we don't know how long it actually took them. We don't know anything. We just see like the highlights, the good parts of them getting exactly what they want. And if it's something you desire, it hits more at home and then you just lose your patience. When thinking about this, I started to feel like I kind of regret how I spent my high school and college years with the all or nothing mindset. I was also overthinking so much that it prevented me from really enjoying those versions of myself. In this, I guess, break, the time I spent so much alone, just, working and trying to, I guess, get my life together, lay the foundation. I do call this year like a foundational year because it's like the year you graduate, So I do think people tend to try to network, try to get new jobs, try to get into the field they went to school for. Sometimes it's a little different. Sometimes it's they start a business, they do this, they do that. And I feel like I never really enjoyed my high school, my college years, because then I was just always overthinking about how to reach my goals. Again, with the all or nothing mindset. But specifically, I do think my overthinking came from my formative years. Like I mentioned, very hard to talk about. So, trigger warning, going to be talking about kind of hard topics of like poor mental health is the best way I can describe it. But I have never in death thought about what I wanted out of life because, truthfully, I did not think I would live past a certain age, which does sound dramatic, but when you are not happy in life, where you're questioning why did I have to exist, and you're just struggling with deep spiraling depression, and with everyone it feels like constantly misunderstanding you, getting attacked, and you already don't like yourself, it's hard to think about a future if you don't see one, if you don't feel like there is one, because you don't feel strong enough to live past a certain point. And I know that in these years, the great part about these years is how open people are about their mental health and depression and sadness they feel. And it's not good that people feel those things, obviously, but it's good to, I guess, have awareness that people really do struggle. And sometimes we tend to forget that we make, especially in your younger years, people think like, oh, your actions are not that serious in middle school and high school. But those type of experiences do follow some people or hit them harder depending on their personality. And I do question if people do feel, I know I'm not a perfect person. Let's just get that out of the way. I've sometimes done mean things, but I also know that instantly. I usually feel guilt about it and remorse about it and want to apologize about it. So, yeah, I don't want to get too far off topic, but so I didn't think I would live past a certain age. And when I did get to that age that I didn't think I would live past, then life just kept feeling like it would fall apart. And I think I'm in-depthly thinking about this because, I mean, we had recently talked about high school and just that type of hangout. So, in general, that year, 11th grade, there was like so many friendship fallouts. But on a personal level for me, it was like as soon as I turned 16, I had at least 3 friendship fallouts. It was a lot for me. So one happened November/December 2017. Another one happened May 2018. And then another one September/early October 2018. And the first 2 were connected. It was weird because it all happened age 16. Like, my Sweet 16 was like that year, October 2017. And then from there, it was just like an endless thing of socializing, transformation. And it was just like so much things happening at once. And crazy part is that year, like when I turned 16, and this is okay, so it was a 5th house year for me because I'm a Cancer rising. That meant my 5th house is in Scorpio with a certain house system, like not whole signs, but the other one. My Pluto would also be in that house, my 5th house. So I feel like that is like the scariest years for me because those are like my most transformative years. Honestly, being 11 and 12 weren't even as scary. Like those years, they were mostly filled with insecurity because those are my 12th house and 1st house years. But being 16, well, 4/16 are the ages that were 5th house years. I always feel like those are the most transformative years, like years that just changed the trajectory of my life. So the next time it will be like that type of year will be when I'm 28. So I fear certain ages. Like I fear 28, 40, 52, but I also feel excited for them and excited to see how they will kind of undo me and bring me back to life. So I feel positive and negative because I feel scared because of the unknowing, but I also feel excited for them. But going on and going back on topic, the reason why I was thinking about those times is because when I think about those years, how I took things so to heart and so seriously to a point where it prevented me from living, that I did have an all or nothing mindset, which meant when I was thinking about something, I went to the extreme, whether it was like with my body image and wanting a relationship, whether it was wanting good grades. Like I had those specific type of goals because I thought that's what I was supposed to want. And I'm in a place in my life where things are slow and not much is happening. Like my life is honestly the calmest it's ever been. And I can see people achieving things without feeling a sense of like jealousy anymore because I'm living my life exactly how I want to and not just fixating on the goal aspect of my life, but remembering to enjoy my experiences, remembering to spend more time with family, with friends, and doing things I love or doing the things I want to try just because and not because I think it will fulfill a goal, that it would fulfill me feeling secure about myself and proving to myself something, that I'm just doing it because I want to. And point blank, period. Because here's the thing about remembering to live and how I feel right now. I don't know who I am becoming, but I also believe a huge part of that is because when you live for your goals, to create security without reminding yourself of your dreams, that gives you, which your dreams do give you more of emotional connection and purpose. We end up in a state of existing and not living. When I took a break and just stopped from everything, I had this expectation that my life would feel better, that I would do everything because I no longer have an excuse. And up until April, I feel like I mostly felt frustrated and guilty because I lost connection to everything I was doing with my goals, with my vision board. If I'm being honest with you, like, yeah, November 2023, I was burnt out. I was just determined to fix my life. Same with December. Like, you know how you get that spark of motivation at some points of the year? That's what it was like for me. I had this spark of motivation. I tried to be as disciplined as possible in January. I ended up burning myself out squared. Like, by February, I was just like frustrated with myself, frustrated that I wasn't seeing progress with my body, frustrated that it felt like I wasn't progressing in my content creation, frustrated that I didn't start other aspects of my goal because I was so hyper focused on those specific areas that I just mentioned, that I didn't contribute to anything else. I didn't contribute to my enjoyment. I didn't contribute to just having more experiences that makes me look at life and be like, this feels good regardless of everything. This is your reminder. This is especially for college grads, but I feel like at some points of life, at any age, you somehow forget to live, no matter how young or much older you are. So this is just your reminder to don't just do things to prove things to yourself, to create security. Because then I also had this thought, that if change is the only thing inevitable in life, we cannot necessarily look for security, but we have to build it. And that's why we have goals, because we need to build security. We need to build proof that we are a competent person, a smart person, a good person, a kind person, a helpful person. And that's what goals are about. It's proof and security. But sometimes doing those things don't align with your dreams. And when your goals don't align with your dreams, you lose your purpose, you lose your why am I getting up every day to do this? You lose a sense of being spontaneous and doing things that would make you happier. Like seeing your friends more, going to more events, doing more things, and just appreciating life that way because of your goals. It maybe causes you to make decisions to stand down, stand back. But in a sense, we need a balance. It cannot be all or nothing. You can't be all into your goals that you forget to live, but you also can't live life without any sense of direction, without working towards something. Work is not the problem, in my opinion. Everything we do is work. Even if you have a thing of wanting to just make friends and, have a relationship and build a family, whatever. Like, even if those things don't seem like work, it still takes work. It takes working on knowing yourself. It takes working on understanding another person. It takes trial and error and meeting people and, So I had this conversation with my friend because when I had the realization, no matter what we do, everything is work. So the problem isn't working, it's just working towards things you have no passion for. And my friend said something interesting. She was like, passions fade. But I think it's not necessarily that passions fade, but our curiosity just disappears. I think it's harder to find a passion if you're not curious about things. And I think what creates passion is curiosity. That you look at something, you wonder, and you're like, this kind of seems interesting. Maybe I should try it at least once just to get my curiosity out the way. And if it's for me, you continue to do it. But a lot of times people don't continue to do things because they want to be good at things right away. And if they're not meeting their goal of doing that thing they were doing it for, like, let's say fashion design, because that's what I could think of. And if you're not good at that on the get-go, it sends a signal to your brain like, oh, I'm not good at this, so this won't help me prove that I am like an artistic person and could do cool things, you know? So that's why we quit. But when you make life about living and just trying things, because you know what, even if I'm not good at it, I don't have to be. I don't have to be good at everything. I don't have to be perfect at everything to want to work towards something. Just like you don't have to postpone your life because you have to work towards your goals. You don't have to always say no. Like, yes, certain times you should be responsible, but you also need those spontaneous moments to really make life feel full. And one without the other creates this imbalance that makes you not have the quality of life you deserve. So remember to live, remember to laugh, remember to love, remember to try. And that is what I really wanted to say today. And of course, the card pull of the day, I used the Wild Unknown Pocket Animal Oracle cards by Kim Krans. Funny enough, the card I pulled was the bear. It says, waking from spiritual slumber, beginning anew. After a long winter, the bear arises from deep slumber. At first, movement and effort are difficult, but the bear knows it's time to awaken and move towards the dawning light. The bear card represents an individual on the cusp of new directions and personal transformation. The initial weeks and months of this spiritual quest may feel tricky, cumbersome, and full of obstacles. But you have no choice, bear. Winter wanes, the warmth of spring emerges, and your transformation begins. When in balance, inner strength, yearning to grow. When out of balance, withdrawal, lethargy, heaviness, to bring into balance movement and exercise. And I found this one very interesting because it was like, oh, it just turned spring, not too long ago, end of March. To me, it just felt like crazy aligned that we're starting anew again. And that's what I think sleep is, because sleep is, in human form, is the closest we get to death. So when we awaken, in a sense, I feel like that doesn't just mean like physical level, but like on an emotional, spiritual, conscious level, when we wake up and we realize like, oh, we've been doing this thing, we've been taking things for granted, that we've been kind of preventing ourselves from having joy in the sake of trying to build security. When you wake up and become conscious of those things, that you kind of then start to be able to see things in a different way and head towards a new direction. So I don't know who needed to hear that, but it felt very aligned. And to end off, of course, what I am grateful for. I am currently grateful that I took the time to see some friends, and there are still some people I want to see. I am grateful for this because it made me realize how, even on a personal level, that I just wasn't connecting or communicating with others for a while because I wasn't in the headspace, like I was too into my goals. And when you are someone deeply into personal development, wellness, and everything, sometimes you do get into that space because you're working towards something, building security in your life. But it's so easy to forget about the things, and we see this in countless movies, that we try to build our financial security, we try to build like security in the sense to know the idea that we are a good person, that we completely forget about just doing things because we want to enjoy them, to see what happens, and not because we're working towards something. So yeah, I think the friendships, hangouts really took me out of like myself. And even though I was anxious to do it, I'm glad I did because I feel like I could start socializing again, start pursuing networking again, and just see where my life takes me. And I hope that you got something out of this, even though it wasn't tips or anything like that. This is something I truly just wanted to discuss, something I truly wanted to discuss in honor of kind of like filming like me getting out of my homebody introverted era. And there will be so much more videos coming up on my YouTube channel that's just more like spring, about feeling renewed and energized and wanting to socialize again. And even though I consider myself an introvert, that this energy I feel right now is just a need to meet people and try things and catch up with people that are important to me and connect to the world again, and it doesn't feel like I'm just that it doesn't just feel like I'm not living. So if you want to see that, remember, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can listen to this podcast if you don't like the video format on YouTube, because it kind of is just like I have a thing that helps me post my podcast content. I also have this on like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and like all these like different podcast sites. So if you're not a fan of like the static video, you can also listen on there if you feel like it suits you better. Yeah, have a good day, evening, or night. And it was so good to just chat again. And I will see you next time, hopefully in a YouTube video.